Good evening. This is a meeting of the Norwalk Shellfish Commission. In attendance are Commissioners Nick Sacinelli and Mark Hiller. And we'll start with the attendance. I've taken that. The approval of the minutes. Nick, if you'd like to take over.
Yeah, who would be in charge of approval of the minutes?
Well, we don't have a quorum, so at this point, we really we'll have to table it until either Pete shows up or John Pegler, and then we can go from there. Otherwise, we can just go right to public comment, and we can come back to the minutes if we need to. Would that be all right?
Okay, let's go to public comment. Who's online for that?
Okay, we have looks like two different folks. It looks like there's a gentleman, Garrett. Mr. Frederickson, you're able to talk if you like to.
Yeah, sure. Hey, gang, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Hey, folks, my name is Garrett Friedrichsen. I live here in Norwalk on Crooked Trail. I really appreciate you, allowing me to join you and say a few words. I wrote an email to I don't know if it reached y'all, but on the Norwalk website, there's a link to send a message to y'all. Doesn't matter. Here's the deal. I was wondering what your reaction would be or what your comment would be. First of all, former commercial fisherman, bayman here in New England, earn my living in a number of different ways on the water. So it's endemic to me. I now do other things, but I spend most of my free time on the water. Last fall, I was amazed at and so happy at the clarity, although my lawn looked like potato chips. The lack of rain made the sound, just the water clarity was beautiful in the fall. It was great. So I was out fishing and for the better part of the fall, and October 8th was Blackfish or Tautog opener, and I almost caught the Connecticut record right there in Wilson Cove. Amazing. So happy. I got trot line for blue claw crabs. I caught a 7-pound fluke there in Wilson Cove. It was amazing. I haven't experienced this in Norwalk in a long time, right? All within 200 yards of my mooring. It was great. Well, I'll cut to the chase. A couple days after that, after the 8th, I don't remember which day, I go out fishing. I brought my elderly father, a bunch of family. Said we're going to catch another blackfish. It's going to be great. And there was this massive. I've seen it in Norwalk Harbor. I don't know if it's a clam boat, right? But black ship, 80 feet, 70 feet. I'm not sure. Huge. And it was suction dredge. And I've seen it in Norwalk Harbor, but I hadn't seen it in action. And listen, man, I'm all about commercial interest on the water. The outlet pipe of this thing, massive. It had turned the water of not just Wilson Cove, but all the way to the power plant. Just, black, brown mud. But, oh, man. From that point forward, the rest of the fall, didn't catch a thing. So I thought, I don't know, what's this guy doing, right? And is there any way to work with this person to I know it's probably a long shot, right? To shift things around, push it out a little bit. I mean, this is like October, before the 15th of October, it's almost still summer. So that folks that leverage the water, like to get out with the families, catch some fish, catch some crabs, are able to do that because that suction dredge, man, forget about it. Square miles of water are destroyed from anything else except for commercial shellfish, which I'm all for. I don't know. What's any reaction? This is the first year I saw that guy out there. It's a big ship, big commercial interest. Anyway, I'll shut up now.
I missed a little bit about that. Can you tell me again what's causing it, or what had caused it?
A very large suction dredge commercial shellfisher. I'm not throwing stones whatsoever. Large black ship. I see him parked. I haven't seen him this year, but I haven't gone all the way into Norwalk Harbor. Usually parked down by Bloom, down there by the ice cream shop, all the way down in Norwalk Harbor. Black ship, maybe 80 feet, right? The suction dredge. suctioning the bottom, suction up the shellfish, and then the effluent, the outcast of that is, 24-foot pipe maybe, or 24-inch, just unloading mud into the water. And what the net result was turning crystal clear Norwalk waters into mud for the rest of the fall.
I see.
It basically shut down a fishery for everybody. For the remainder of
Have
the
you
fall.
seen it? Have you
So I'm
seen it out
wondering,
there
this guy's
recently?
got every right in the world to do what he does, but maybe how do we push that back maybe even a week, 2 weeks, right? And give people a chance to go out there and catch a fish with their family.
And do you still see it out there?
That's what I'm talking about.
Do you still see it out there? I'm sorry. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you still see that suction dredge out there?
Oh no. I haven't seen him out there yet this year. My guess is that they like to go, towards the end of the boating season, right? Totally fair. Maybe you guys know the ship. I'm not sure. I mean, it's a substantive craft, right? This is not one of our normal, Norwalk commercial guys. This is a big.
Does anybody have any feedback answer on that? Anybody?
Well, Bill, we could raise this as an issue with the Bureau of Aquaculture and see if they have any comments, or if this is a common occurrence, or an issue to be discussed, and mention that it was a public comment received at the Shellfish Commission meeting, and to see if the Bureau of Aquaculture has any thoughts on this.
Hasn't the Marine Police or perhaps Bloom Brothers been notified or aware of that?
I haven't, but it's just more of a curiosity, and I saw you guys were having this meeting, so I thought I'd give you a shout or join your session for a moment. But no, I don't want to be perceived as a problem. Believe me, I support these guys out there making a living on the water like I used to, But at any rate, if maybe it's I'm happy to make a phone call. I don't mean to burden you guys with it, but if there's someone that you recommend I give a call, maybe I'll call Bloom. Go over there for a lobster roll and talk with them for a little bit,
Yeah. Can we make a notation to pass this information on to Steve when he returns?
Absolutely. I'll
Yeah.
put it in the notes for the meeting minutes and we'll pass it. I'll make sure he gets it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I'd be curious to see if Justin is on, if they've heard anything, or seen any in the vessel around in Norwalk waters. Is Sergeant Biseglia there?
He's here. Oh, there
Yep,
he
I got you guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had John Pinto, Norwalk Harbor Management Commission, regarding that vessel. Have you been aware of it, or are you aware of the location of it, or?
Which vessel? Sorry, I don't have very good service up here right now.
Oh,
Which vessel are we talking about?
Yeah, how you doing, officer? My name is Garrett. I was the original guy that called in and was chatting about it. There was, I haven't seen it this year, but last year there was, I don't know the exact size, big. It's a ship, 70, 80-foot black hulled commercial shellfishing ship.
Yeah, that's one of Norm's Bloom's boats.
Yeah, Blues boat. Yeah, exactly. So that was the one we were talking about. And I haven't been into Norwalk Harbor. My boat's over in Wilson Cove, but we were talking about maybe how to mitigate some of the effects of suction dredging, at least for a week or two later in the season, allow people to go out there and enjoy the water before the suction dredge just sort of blows up Norwalk waters,
I mean, that's something out of our control. It's more of a discussion with Norm Bloom and his harvesting and how he does things.
Yeah.
Don't mind that. I'm up in a training class.
I'm sorry, Justin, what was that last?
I'm up in a training class. That's why you hear gunfire in the background.
Oh, okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
that's a good thing.
But yeah, that's something you have to reach out to Norm about. He may be able to help you out with timing a little better.
Yeah, yeah, I'll do that. That's fair enough. Like I was mentioning earlier before you joined, I fully support what you guys do. Just wanted to see if we could shuffle dates around and make it
For sure. Yeah.
work for everyone, you know? Good. All right, I'm gonna sign
One
off,
more
fellas.
time. What month was that? What time of the year was that?
That was right about later in the second week of October last year.
October.
Yeah, because
Okay, thank
October
you.
8th was the first day of blackfish season, and 2 or 3 days after that, I went back out, and that was when that ship was working Wilson Cove.
Garrett, you should just swing around and go into Ziegler's Cove. It's some of the best blackfishing you could have over there.
You know, I love how everyone goes out in the deep, and they're braving those 3-foot waves, and I stay
Yeah.
in close, and I do well. How about you?
Oh no, I do it all. Deep water, shallow. But if it's a little clouded in Wilson Cove, like I said, just go around into Ziegler's, and that's probably some of the best blackfishing in Long Island Sound right there. So I fished it a lot last fall with no issues from what you're saying. So I mean, that's another option for you to go out there. You know,
Yeah,
it might help you.
Yeah, all good. All right, gang. I'm gonna go and have a little dinner. Have a good evening to all of you,
All right.
and thanks so much.
All right.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
Thank you, Garrett. There's one other individual on the public comment. If you'd like to have anything to say, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing that no hand raised, we can move on to the treasurer's report. I'll take care of that right now. The balance remains the same. There's been no expenditures or income. So the current balance remains at 29,292. The next agenda item is secretary's report. That's typically Steve. I don't know if there's anything anyone else would like to report regarding that. Okay. The next thing is committee reports, and I'll start off with the health report. So the rainfall for August was 2.27. The year before was 7.29, so significant difference. Historically, it's 4.25. We had one closure on the 21st due to rainfall, and that was it. No reported bypasses, so it was a pretty quiet month regarding everything. So that's it for me. The next thing, Nick, is wastewater treatment, and typically we have no one here representing that, and that's the way it is tonight as well.
Okay.
So we'll move on to permits. Permits, I spoke with Steve. We're going to be working on getting the new permits done for October. I think if I recall properly, Stephen mentioned last month that if there was any changes that people thought regarding the maps that we might want to address it, because I think he wanted to have some maps made up as well to go with the new permits. So we could bring that up again in October. If there's anything that you can think of, maybe keep that in mind for October's meeting. The next thing is the police report, Justin.
Yep. So nothing really to report on our end. The issue with the oyster steaks has pretty much been resolved, I think, that we talked about last month. We did have a boat break off a mooring in the South Anchorage, drifted over to Peach Island. We pulled that off and tied it back up under the mooring. And other than that, it's been all pretty much quiet for us on the shellfishing end. And the water temp right now is like 71, 72.
Thank you, Justin. Next thing is advisory. Jeff?
Does Alan wish to speak first as the Harbor Commission chair?
Sure.
And then I'll speak.
Sure, I'll go. We're starting to see the season wind down, unfortunately. My earpiece fell out. I'll be very brief. The one bit of information is the Harbor Commissioners have all received City of Norwalk email addresses. So that will be getting circulated to everybody for the purpose of Harbor Commission business, so that we aren't spending so much time doing FOIA requests for some people in Norwalk. So harbor commissioners all have their own email addresses that can be researched and looked up and scanned by city personnel if necessary. If people hadn't heard, the Cove Marina breakwater has been application which goes out from Cap Astor Beach out toward the federal channel has been put on hold for a while. I had a letter from Cove that was they're rethinking some of that, so that's been put on the table. Our last meeting, we had an extensive discussion about 130 Water Street and really about commercial marine use and the balance between
108.
Pardon me?
108.
I'm sorry, 108.
108 water.
Yeah, 130 is the other thing. Yeah, about the proposal to develop office, residential, and some waterfront space with slips. The commission approved the notion, saying it could go forward with a number of conditions at this point. That's really about it for the business part of it. The other personal thing I have just I mentioned last time that we'd I had some concerns about the increasing population in South Norwalk, and particularly the Sono area itself, and the egress in the event of a weather event. And what was in conflict with that for me was the elimination of all the connecting ramps between Super 7 and the Merritt Parkway as a means of egress. It's going to be a traffic light controlled intersection there, four-way intersection, according to DOT. I received a response from the DOT, and they're very confident with their design, and they feel that egress there from the coastal areas can be accomplished with special police and controlling the traffic lights. It was to mitigate any slowdown or prevention of people egressing the South Norwalk area. So that is my report. Any questions? Jeff?
I have a few things to say. Thanks, Bill. And I think that there are a lot of important and interesting things that are going on that directly involve and will directly involve both the Harbor Management Commission and the Shellfish Commission. And we'll obviously get into these in more detail in the months ahead. But the first topic, I think, is Manresa Island. Had some good discussions with the remediation division at DEEP that recognizes and anticipates the involvement of the Harbor Management Commission and the Shellfish Commission in reviewing the remedial action plans for cleaning up the environment. I guess it was last month, we had a good discussion about the application by the Manresa Island Group for what's known as a stewardship permit that DEEP issues for environmental remediation. And as you know from other towns and what DEEP recently confirmed is the stewardship permit sets forth responsibilities for remediation and timing and so forth, but it doesn't specify the means and the methods for doing it. So how it's done is something that would be addressed in detailed remedial action plans to follow, and that's what DEEP told us. So the Manresa Group filed an application for the stewardship permit, and DEEP provided that was on the DEEP website. But then today we received an email from DEEP saying that they posted a notice of tentative determination to approve that stewardship permit. And the public comment on this will extend to October 30th. And there will be on October 6th at Brian McMahon a public informational hearing at 6 o'clock, and then the public hearing at 8. So this is I guess we talked about and John mentioned at the last commission meeting, Harbor Commission meeting, that in September the application committee intends to meet in person. I don't And this will of course be a important topic of discussion. It's interesting, and the experience in the other towns shows that, you know, with these big remediation projects, as they begin, there's typically more questions than there are answers. And it will be the responsibility of the Harbor Commission and the Shellfish Commission to ask those questions and to seek the answers. And one basic question, and we began this with Deep, is does the remediation work, is it going to require looking at the contamination in the marine sediments, or is it just going to be on the upland? And that was unclear, and unclear from the stewardship permit application. But recently Deep assured us that no, that the stewardship permit will require the owner, the applicant, to look at the marine sediments and to mitigate any contamination that might be found as a result of the history of oil and coal deliveries, which you might expect would have created a problem. And this was an issue that has been raised by the Bureau of Aquaculture as well. And I provided, we had a nice discussion on the potential impact on shellfish resources. And I provided the 1889 map of natural shellfish beds, which show that the entire peninsula is surrounded by natural shellfish beds. So this is a matter that we'll certainly get involved with in the next couple of months. Probably the first discussion of it will take place in September, and then we have a meeting after the public meeting and the public hearing in October, prior to the public comment period expiring. So that's something, and that's something that we're going to have to give a lot of attention to, and look forward to doing that. It's interesting, we found back in 2013, when the utility company shut down the power plant, that there was a public meeting held at the police department involving the Shellfish Commission and Harbor Commission and state representatives and officials and so forth. It was very interesting to see the statement that was read into the record at that meeting by then, he was the chair of the application review committee, Mr. DeAndrea, who specifying what the Harbor Commission's role and responsibilities and authorities are with respect to reviewing the future proposals for use of the island. And nothing's changed. Those authorities and responsibilities are the same. And we might share that, you know, with the application review committee before looking at the stewardship permit. But that's one big topic. And then it was mentioned the 108 Water Street redevelopment plan that was, my understanding, was approved last night by Planning and Zoning. And of course, that's quite interesting. That times change. We all know that. And the original intent of that marine commercial district, as we know, it was established in 1988, was to preserve and protect water-dependent uses. Commercial boatyards, commercial shellfishing operations. The other uses were intended to be ancillary and accessory uses, residential and commercial. And again, times change. And we talked about this recently with a former DEP at the time commissioner. And he laughed and referred to the song, "The Times They Are Changing," which is fine. But I think that the people making the change should recognize and respect the work of all the people from Planning and Zoning Commission back in the late 1980s, years of work to establish that marine commercial district. So taking a different approach now, moving forward, the principal site uses won't be the water dependent uses, most likely. They'll be the non-water dependent uses, which will be described as having a water dependent component, which is the public access. And the other interesting thing is that the DEP wrote interesting that they took a strong position that the development of residential units on this property is inconsistent with the Coastal Management Act and shouldn't be approved, which is quite but it also fits in with the current thinking about wise floodplain management and resiliency in response to sea level rise. So how Deep will now react to their recommendation not being acted on or influencing the planning and zoning decisions is something that will be interesting to see. Back in 1988, when the zone was changed to reduce the protections for water dependent use, Deep sued the city for violation of the Coastal Management Act. I don't think anybody expects that they're going to do that now, but again, it's very interesting. The times change, but I think everybody should be understanding of what was done previously and respect that, that work and acknowledge it. And again, the other issue now, besides water dependent use, is the development of residential properties in the floodplain. So we'll have that to look for, probably additional proposals to look forward on Water Street in the future. The third topic has to do with the Norwalk River Watershed Action Plan and the work to update that. So I've learned that the public meeting to hear the consultant's proposed update to the policies will be on September 13th, which is a Saturday. Not quite sure. We understood that it was being planned for the Maritime Aquarium. But again, this is something of much importance and significance, I think, for both the Harbor Commission and the Shellfish Commission. And it's interesting, after the last meeting of the Watershed Initiative, I was involved in a meeting with former State Senator John Atkin, who back in 1997 and 98 was the president of Save the Sound, which was the public outreach coordinator for the Watershed Initiative as it was being developed then. And we talked about all the enthusiasm and the involvement that was exhibited at that time by people from throughout the watershed. The 3 public meetings in 97 and 3 in 1998. And just looking at some of the old news articles, and there was we're preparing some displays of the watershed, the harbor, the history of the Watershed Initiative for display at the meeting on the 13th. But I found a half-page article from the New York Times back in 1998, and there was a statement that said you can't improve the overall quality of Long Island Sound without managing the waters that feed into it. The sound and the rivers feeding into it are inextricabely linked. And this is a model program, referring to the Norwalk River Watershed Initiative. A number of other comments there. So interesting, the Watershed Initiative meeting, last week, it was a Zoom meeting and maybe 10 or a dozen people were present. So whether there is the same level of interest throughout the watershed, but I think that's something that the Harbor Commission and the Shellfish Commission should work to try to promote this work and to increase public awareness of the relationship between water quality in the river and Long Island Sound. And we talked about some of the policy recommendations that the Shellfish Commission and the Harbor Commission might be expected to make. One being that, if you're increasing impervious surfaces in the watershed having to do with roadways, you should mitigate that increase, just like a property owner is responsible if it tears down a house and builds a new one for mitigating the increased impervious surfaces. Another goal is that the development goals and housing goals shouldn't supersede goals for environmental protection. And then of course, there's the resiliency goal and the concern about how the resiliency concept is being misused. So we look forward to that meeting. And then related to that, we got into a discussion at the watershed meeting of the impacts of the Merritt Parkway Route 7 project and the concern that in reviewing the DOT's project documents and presentation, there's no discussion of stormwater management and managing the increase in looks certainly like a significant increase in impervious surfaces. How is that going to be handled? And there was discussion of the 2 reports that the Harbor Commission and the Shellfish Commission had collaborated on, including the I-95 bridge project report, where we made the link between roadway pollutants and contamination in the harbor. So the consultant asked that we provide those 2 copies of those reports, which I did. So that's something also how we influence when the permitting for this final permitting for the design of that highway project moves forward. How do we influence that? And I think it's our responsibility to do that, just as we did with the I-95 bridge work. Just quickly, 3 more things. The work to amend the Harbor Management Act. John is taking a lead, Pinto is taking a lead role with our committee to do that from 5 different towns. We talked with Mr. Thompson at DEEP. He's assembling their team and has agreed to work with us to try to come up with reasonable amendments to the legislation for the next executive session. Another topic, you probably read about this, the tragic accident in Stratford last month, where a young boy fell off the dock at the town boat ramp and drowned. And that's led to a number of, discussions, if that's the right word, or planning involving the town attorney in Stratford, the Waterfront and Harbor Management Commission, as to, what is the proper signage? Should there be a regulation requiring children or persons under the age of a certain age, say 13, to wear a life jacket on the dock? But that's all sort of work in progress as to how to respond to this very, very unfortunate drowning accident. And then the last thing I might mention, John at the last Harbor Commission meeting put forth the proposal or the request that the Harbor Commission vote to recommend to the mayor that the Veterans Park Marina be named after Tony Mobilia. And since there wasn't a full complement of commission members, that was put off until next month. So I hope that's something, my personal opinion, I hope that's something that members of the Shellfish Commission could also support. The mayor, Tony was friends with the mayor, but that's not the reason for naming the marina after him. All right, that's my comments, Bill. Thanks for letting me go on so much, and sorry to take so much of your time, but these are all important topics, in my opinion and in the opinion of others. Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much, Jack.
Thank you.
The last thing for community reports was the harbor management, but I think Alan or John, I think everything was addressed earlier. Or anything else to add?
Yeah, regarding I've got I've got names up there. Is it?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. You're up there 3 times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what cloning is all about, John. You clone yourself.
That's not good.
I think it might be interfering with your audio a bit, though, John.
It is. And I'm trying to. Let me. Could we remove 2? I don't know. I don't.
It sounds a bit better.
Let me see. Maybe leave.
One of you just left.
One of.
Here we go.
Okay, there we are. All right. No, I'm sorry, Bill. You had asked a question was.
I just want to make sure that all the Harbor Management Commission issues were addressed. I know
Chairman
you talked through it. I just want to make sure it
Chairman
wasn't
brought up information. The only concern was our sort of diminishing the marine commercial zone, and Commissioner Kibbe certainly reemphasized what the commission's concerns were, basically on the losing again some of our marine commercial zone and then expanding the residents in a flood zone. The DEP did have concerns about that, and they did bring up the point of dry egress, and they addressed that and how they would remediate that, but it wasn't really to my satisfaction as far as how they're going to handle a dry egress, comparable to what they have across the street. And then the lawyer, this Adam Blank, had talked about that they do have dry egress across the street, but it only goes to a certain distance and doesn't extend into an area where there's flooding where cars can get out safely. But they do have a dry egress. But in the case on Water Street, there's no mention of how they would manage dry egress other than what they had proposed, that the city of Norwalk would perhaps raise Water Street. But when that's going to happen, that's certainly not in the time when they're going to get this building built. They also brought up the point how they were planning on expanding the marine commercial zone by having a shellfish refinery, shellfish place where people can grow shellfish in the area. And I sort of questioned about how they were going to manage that, and then have a boat rental and a few other amenities regarding water dependent use. But I think they fell shy of what they really have intended with as far as the water dependent use, that we're going to be losing that area, which is certainly a need from the Marine Police Division and just the storage of docks and storage of vessels. I mean, my opinion from that standpoint.
Okay, thank you, John. The next item of business is just old business, of which there is none. And then new business was simply the request to speak regarding the dredging ship, which is addressed during public comment. So with that, we can adjourn the meeting again because we don't have a quorum. We'll just have to end the meeting, and anything else that needs to be voted on, we'll have to do so next month.
Sounds good.
Thank
Okay?
you.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Have a good night.
have-
Bye-bye.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks.